Hey guys, just want to give you the heads up about what's going on with the redesigned AP test for this upcoming year. They just released the details on the College Board website. And so I'll lay out for you what I see here with AP US History. I'll also show you the document for AP Biology if you're interested. This is under the coronavirus updates page, so you should be able to look at it yourself as well. But here we go with U.S. history. U.S. history, you can see the times that they're going with, and you can see the reason why. You cannot see the reason why because I am not smooth with Google Meet yet, but I'm working on it. All right. So as you can see, you're starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on May 15th so that the people in Hawaii and the people on the East Coast could all start at the same times. So they've got everybody in the United States testing on US history simultaneously. You can see the timing that they're doing. They're going to shorten the time that you have to read and respond the DBQ. You've got 45 minutes to both read the DBQ and write it. And then you're going to get 5 minutes afterwards to submit. They're going to have a timer on the screen. They're going to give us some simulation stuff to be able to play around with this. It's a 45-minute test, obviously. And what they're telling us is if you take a look here, this is what's going on with the question. You're going to get 5 sources. One of them is going to be like a map or a graph or something that you'll need to interpret, perhaps a political cartoon, a picture, whatever. You're going to be asked to do these things that you recognize from the rubric: thesis, contextualization, complexity down here, using HIPPO, but the numbers and the amount of gradation is different. And the thing that we'll want to be highlighting as we move forward is this won't be on a 7-point scale, it's going to be on a 10-point scale. So they're going to be using 10 points to try to create some separation between different groups of individuals. So what we've taught you in class about getting a 4 and being safe, that's not quite the way that it's going to work out on this test. And we don't really know what the benchmarks are going to be. They're probably going to float a bit once they find out what kids are able to do when they test in the spring. Notice down here, your essay questions may be pulled from anything from periods 3 through 7. We'll use 5 documents instead of 7 of them. So the review that we did with periods 1 and 2, that stuff is guaranteed to not be the primary focus of your essay questions, but it can be used as contextualization. Your rubric is going to be modified, and I'll show that to you in just a second. You'll be able to click on it right here. You'll notice that they've changed the point totals here. I don't find that this is as clear as actually taking a look at the rubric itself. So when you click on the rubric, it brings you to this here. As you prepare this weekend, then, what you should be keeping in mind is all the work that we did over the past few months to work on thesis and contextualization is still valid. So you guys can earn those 2 points at the beginning of your essays by using the same template that we used previously. You'll notice that the evidence is worth 5 points, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But then also you've got the final point for complexity down here that is going to remain the same. So you've got the complexity point is going to be identical to the way that they've scored in the past. But notice that they're going to be giving you 5 points for evidence, 3 points for analysis and reasoning. So that is 8, 9. How does that work out? 10, 11. That's weird. 1, 2. Plus 5 is 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, analysis and reasoning, that's woven into here. So this is all one category right here. So 1.23 plus 5 is 8, 9, 10. Gotcha. So let me break apart for you the differences and think about what we've talked about in class when it comes to DBQs. This is going to be the new things that they're added in. And originally, when we talked about gaming the DBQ, we talked about earning 1, 2, and then right here, using at least 2 of the documents in summary, that can earn you a 3. Using 1 additional piece of outside information, that was a 4. So the same way we taught you how to get a 4 is in play right here. They're just modifying it with the stuff that you see in blue. So let me show you what changes they're making. There is going to be a point that they're going to be asking for where they want to see a middle ground between here and here. So this point used to be if you could use all the documents but 1 and have all of the documents that you were using but 1 really do a good job of not just summarizing the document, but they support the argument by using analysis and reasoning to prove that your thesis statement is right, you would earn a point here. They're now putting into there a middle point where if you're able to use 2 of the documents in this way, perhaps you don't use the 4 that were required or all but 1, but you use 2 of them really well to support your essay, you can earn this point. This is kind of an emerging sort of point then for this year only, and this was the skill that we were working on previously when we were playing around with DBQs. Down here for evidence beyond the document, you could earn on the old test an additional point for using one additional piece of outside information that wasn't in the documents. For this year, you will earn a second point if you do that a second time. And so that's going to be something where for many of us, we were starting to get pretty good at slipping in proper nouns, specific details, and filling our essay with information. If we can just do this a second time well, with a piece of outside information that's not connected to the documents themselves mentioned in the documents, they could be something that is a topic that's covered but not necessarily used in the proper noun sense. That could earn you that point. Down here, if you use, let me see here, if you use hippo once to help to provide context for a document, that would earn you a point. On the previous rubric, it was multiple. They're only asking for 1 here for this first point. If you do hippo a second time, you earn a second point. What we were teaching you, though, with the DBQ is if you used hippo for 3 of the documents well, you would earn 1 point. Now they're telling you you will earn 2 points if you do hippo well for 2 documents. So this is actually lessening the requirement that you had. And this is making it hopefully more approachable for you to be able to get that done. With this rubric, this seems incredibly doable to me. The stuff that they're adding in as points are not going to be things that make the scoring harder. They create easier to reach benchmarks for you to jump over. I'm curious to see what sort of documents and DBQs they end up releasing over the next week for us to start playing around with and practicing. But that'll be my job over the weekend. So when we get together on Monday, we'll talk about the implications of this. I'll do a quick wrap up of the civil rights movement that you guys were studying with your videos. If you were finding that it was difficult to submit to Turnitin, it wasn't a Schoology issue. It was me just needing to open up those document turn-in places. It should be good now. So give that a try. Remember, that's due by Monday. For part 3 of your civil rights video. But we'll do some review with period 3. I've got an idea about some DBQs that we can use if they don't give us content. But they are very enthusiastic about giving us tons of content and materials to be able to use to prepare. And in particular, if we know the essay question is only from periods 3 through 7, which we've already covered, it's going to be pretty easy for us to start keyholing what questions could be asked. By looking at the concept outline. So I would have your period 3 concept outline handy for Monday, get your civil rights video worksheet done, and make sure you keep your reading going with the rest of the textbook, because like I mentioned, any of the stuff that you're covering when you're getting to like Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, all of the stuff that we're covering there has connections back in the past that has relations to it. So if you're thinking about like period 3, when they started talking about Hamilton and Jefferson and the discussion of strict versus loose constructionism, we're currently playing around with that right now in our response to the coronavirus because of President Reagan's decision to emphasize the famous phrase, government is not the solution to our problem, government is the problem. That's leading a lot of Americans to question an FDR-style response to coronavirus, which means it's still something that has a connection to history and that initial discussion that we had with Hamilton and Jefferson and the Bank of the United States and the interpretation of the Constitution's elastic clause. So we have no idea what material could help us out, but for 5 weeks, we're not going to spend the next 5 weeks just strictly doing straight up review. We're going to get your content knowledge good up until present time. And then we'll also be working on review materials as well to help get you guys into a good place. I feel very optimistic right now. And I'd like to remind, especially for those of you who are having struggles in this class up to this point, We've got now a solid month and a half for you to work on getting content knowledge better, questions answered. And I would encourage you to please reach out to me so that if you do have things you need to discuss, content that didn't stick the first time, but you need help with it, let me help you out, because I think that we have a really good fighting chance of getting you college credit, even if at the time that we wrapped up our in-class instruction, you weren't certain about that. Enjoy your weekend, and feel free to nudge me if you've got any sorts of questions or problems I can help out with. Thanks a lot.